Yo, JD here, Zero Limits, and as you can see, back on F1 2020 once again today. But we have also returned to one of my favourite things to do when I'm playing F1 is to try and set a world record round the circuit. And today it is going to be Mexico in the classic cars with the Ferrari F2004. You can see the current world record is a 17.093 by AMS Hero, who I have raced before. Very, very fast driver. As I said, Mulder as well, a very, very quick driver. So this is not going to be particularly easy. However, this circuit is probably one of my favourite ones on the game, which is quite unknown to a lot of people. So I was really looking forward to this combination, and it has been so long since I've driven this car. I think it's been well over 2 months or so since the last time I did one of these videos. And of course, make sure you check out the current gravity competition in Suzuka with this car. I'll leave a link in the description down below, your chance to win a Fanatec. But moving back to this, with these videos, or just when I'm trying to get a world record or just build a setup or become as fast as I possibly can around any track, this is the approach that I use and I really recommend for people to use. And just a disclaimer, you're probably going to see quite a lot of raw laps, which some people or a lot of people say they do like to see, because I really want to give again a true perspective on what the reality is when people try and set the fastest lap they can. Because at the end of the day, you just see a time on a leaderboard. You do not see how much effort, how much time someone has put into that lap. Because sometimes, you know, some people can just jump on and get a world record and be really fast. But to get that extra percent and everything, it takes a while to do it. And the first thing I always do is that I go out with the stock setup, which I'm currently using here right now. So the only thing I've changed is just the brake bias and the differential on the MFD on the bottom right hand side. You can see the first time we do it is a 19.7, so 2.7 seconds away. And this is really just to get used to the car, get used to the track, and just the feeling, and just build confidence as well. Because having confidence is just absolutely everything. As we get our first track invalidation, it wasn't on the first lap this time, it was on the second lap, so not a bad effort. Because this circuit is very difficult to keep it within track limits. You really have to push it to its max if you want to get that ultimate lap time. Now, there isn't any really runoff area you can use where it doesn't invalidate you. You have to really use every inch available. And you will just see from these first few laps, we do that 19.7. And although I've invalidated, I always say this in all of my world record attempt videos, I think it's very important that you build a rhythm and you build that momentum. Because if I just restarted it, just trying to set valid laps all the time, I wouldn't be learning anything. And then even if I get through the first sector, since I haven't done sector 2, sector 3, it will be a bit alien to me in terms of feeling and just the muscle memory that I need. So I really do recommend that even if you just invalidate, that you just keep on going and going, just to build that rhythm, just to build that confidence around the track. And you can see, despite that invalidation, we improved on the time quite considerably. And you can just see every lap that we do. This time we didn't lock up. Going through it here, we didn't get an invalidation this time. Short shifting into 4th gear, and you can see the delta is just rising and rising. And that really is just more confidence. Going up into 7th gear this time, just carrying that little bit more apex speed. And as I said, if you're carrying half a tenth around many corners, if you're just gaining half a tenth per corner, that's going to add up to very easily probably a second. So you can see, go through here, we're about 7 tenths up. We haven't changed the setup or anything at all. This is just on pure confidence as we go slightly wide. So that's just a harsh reminder of how strict really these track limits are. But we're going to continue. We're over a second up, and that's how it is sometimes when you're doing time trial, or even when you're trying to do a qualifying lap. You do a lap initially and it may feel quite good, but you'll be surprised how much you can improve with time and just analysing the details. And you can see again, we're just continuing. I haven't reset a lap or anything at all. I'm just going to keep on going. And again, very, very easy to get a track invalidation, but we are still going to keep on going. And ideally, when I'm trying to set a world record, do these types of videos, is that I really want to set a lap with the stock setup that I am very, very happy with first. And we do an 18.5, only 1.5 off the world record. That's not really too bad. And one thing to understand as well is that when you put on the setup, the amount of improvement is going to be quite different per car. And I'd say for this car, it's probably between 1.5 to 2.2 seconds difference, usually around that kind of frame. It could be different, but that's usually what I found. It's about 1.5 seconds of difference when you absolutely max it out here. So we're doing 18.4 now, so we are really starting to improve. And you can see how much time we gained in that last sector again, and you can see we've gone in deep on this occasion, and then we've invalidated it. But I think in modern cars, it's around about probably under a second. You improve maybe like 7 to 8 to 9 tenths or something like that. But I find in this car, it's usually most definitely over a second most of the time, between 1 to 2 seconds or something like that kind of range or something. So coming into here now, this is actually the best lap that I did with the stock setup, and you can see at the moment we're at 18.4, so only 1.4 seconds off, and I felt like there was so much time, and you could see how much time we've gained in this first sector, with a lot of time to gain in the last sector as well. You could just see we're really, really understanding how the car feels, really just feeling how the car works. Going through into here, third gear, avoid going on this curb because I found the traction was very, very poor while I was going on this curb. Absolutely maximizing this as much as I possibly can. Really, really hugging the car against it, leaving a little bit of room on the table to open myself up for a left. And you can see we're 4 tenths up on this lap so far, going into this last sector, kissing this curb, using all of the exit. Very, very easy for the rears to lock going to this corner, avoiding running over that curb. You just want to just kiss it again, come off this corner, using third gear, get the maximum revs out of the car, and it's a 18.0. So I think that's like less than a second from the world record with a stock setup. That's actually one of the best default setup laps I've done. And that's enough for 15th with, you can see, no custom setup on board here. So that's really what I was aiming for. I felt like I could have got a 17. I felt like I definitely can get a 17, a high 17, without a setup on, which would pretty much feel like would be guaranteed a world record, because usually I improve quite a lot with a custom setup that I usually put on. So you can see I'm just going through the list. No one else really has. I felt like that was actually a pretty good lap. You can see that there's some people who have used that ABS or medium traction, but no one with no assist has come close to that time. So I was really, really satisfied with that. And you can see we've just loaded in the current world record setup, so I haven't changed anything whatsoever. Usually I would change some things if it's not working for me, but now we'll just go try it. And again, that's something I do recommend as well. Go from the stock, put on the setup that has got the time, and then if you feel like you need to tweak it to your own style, which I usually do, then that's what you would need to do, because just because it's the world record setup doesn't mean you're going to have the same results. And straight away, there is just so much rotation in this setup. It's using 11 weight distribution, which is like 11 ballast. And I feel that's something you really do have to try and enable your car to use. But I'm barely turning, and the car is just rotating so much. It's not so much quicker in a straight line, but you can see, look at the rotation that we have got, the extra rotation that we've got going through here. And now this is about just relearning how to drive once again. So I'm used to the track, I am used to how the car feels, but now with the extra rotation, you can just see that I'm able to keep the throttle more planted through the high speed, and I have to use higher gears for these corners. So third gear going to this one, and you can see we're already almost half a second up, despite invalidating. We're about 4/10 to like half the second up. So going across the line, first lap with the setup, it's a 17.6 with quite a big mistake going through turn 1. So again, we're just going to stay on board, just build that rhythm, build that momentum. This time going into turn 1, let's see what we do on this occasion. It's another track invalidation, but again, I feel it's really important just to keep that momentum going, just keep on building that confidence. And you can see we're over a 10th up already on the previous time. Going to braking a little bit later, so I'm recognizing that I can use so much more apex speed, and you can see that in the Delta. Second gear not required here, missing the curb on the exit, and we're over 2/10 up. Going through into here, the Delta is still going against the time I set with my stock setup map, and you can see the time, the Delta, look at how much the Delta is going up. The Delta is going up so quickly. There's so much more downforce within this setup, so much more rotation. This time you can see carrying much more speed, so 7/10 up on this lap so far. Using that second gear, probably not absolutely necessary. Going through into here, short shifting just to try and keep the rear end as stable as possible, and going across the line, although it's not going to count, it's a 17.2, so almost close to the world record already. And yet again, we are just going to continue because I feel like I'm on a good momentum right now. Going into turn 1, braking later, carrying so much more speed this time, knowing how much more speed I can carry it. And this time, you can see, look at the time we have gained. Going through into it, we've definitely gone faster. But this time, it is actually valid. Going up into 6th gear, carrying a lot of apex speed, trying to sacrifice this corner a little bit just to try and open up. Could have done that a little bit better. This corner you can carry, look at the speed you carry through the apex here, and you can see we've got a very good exit up into 5th gear, turning in as early as you dare, trying to hook yourself on the inside of these curbs. Try and do the same for this one. We do that very nicely, and we go through this nice and squeaky clean. We are about 6/10 up on this time, going to 7th gear, and that was actually on for such a good lap then. I think that could have been the world record, but we have just gone in a little bit deep for that right-hander and made a bit of a mess of this last sector, but nonetheless, this is going to be an improvement. And coming across the line, it's a 17.3, which I think you can agree, there is a lot of improvement that we can use. But once again, we still haven't restarted. These are still my first 3 laps that I've done with this setup, so we're good to go, keep on going. We're already P3 in the stands. We do have a track invalidation this time, and now we do in fact restart it, because I started to feel like I had a very good feeling with the car, and I think the point where you want to start restarting is when you feel comfortable with the circuit. It's just about you just executing that you can. So now becoming very confident going through it here, really trying to carry as much speed as I possibly can, and keeping it in 4th gear and not getting quite as good exit, but we carried enough speed for the initial part to gain time on that Delta. Going into here, just carrying as much as we possibly can, about middle of the track before turning in, just kissing this curb, and you can see it's paying dividends on the exit. 3rd gear, avoiding mounting this curb on the exit, and we actually lost a bit of time to Delta, so just trying to make up some, going through this middle sector split, doing that very nicely, hooking the inside, absolutely perfect, doing it again for this one, and we are a little bit down on the Delta, but this is very good. I know I can gain time in this last sector. This time we do not go deep, and you can see the time we have gained on this occasion here. And going through this sector, we made a bit of a mess of it before, but going through this last corner, this should be enough for this world record. Making a little mistake on the exit, but going across the line is a 17.0, and that was enough for the world record. But I think you can tell by continuing, I felt like there was more time in this, and now this is a very nice lap. And I think you could tell from the previous lap that there definitely was still a fair amount of time. So we're going to continue once again, and now let's talk about this lap. We brake about the second board here, so sorry, 100-meter board. That's where we brake, kissing it inside here, turn it in early, sacrifice the left to open yourself up for the right, and you can see we've got a very, very good exit, over half a tenth up on our Delta, which is already enough for the world record. This time, just taking a bit more risk in here, sacrificing the left once again to try and do a late apex to get a better exit. Going through it here once again, keeping it nice and tight, avoiding this curb on the exit, and you can see we've gained so much time just because of doing that. As the black box passes, that is your turning in point, hooking it inside here, hooking it on the inside once again. This one didn't quite hook that up this time, but got a very good exit though, and we are just about level with our Delta. Going into the last sector, as the curve starts, that's where you want to be braking, using all of the exit, this time keeping it in third gear, kissing this curve, definitely getting a better launch of this third gear, then into fourth gear. Keep it nice and tight for the exit, and this time we get such a good exit, and now it's going to be a 16.8, almost a 0.7. That is more like it. And even with that lap, I felt like there was definitely, I definitely feel there is probably a mid 16, probably a 16.5, 16.6 on an absolutely perfect lap. And if you're interested in my camera settings, a lot of people always ask me this. This is exactly what I use, so hopefully that is useful to you. But that was a pretty good lap actually. In fact, I still think there is definitely a bit more time. I think as I said, a 16.5 I think would probably be the perfect lap for me, but I didn't actually change the setup. I just kept on with the same setup, so I think I could even improve it even more from what that guy was using, but it felt quite nice to drive for me personally. So overall, I was very, very happy with that. I really enjoy driving this track, and I hope you enjoyed this series coming back. So give it a like. If you want to see more of these, let me know what track you want to see next. Thank you so much for the support on my videos, and I will catch you very, very soon. Peace.